We live in a culture obsessed with action, with doing, with pushing, striving, and forcing things to happen. But what if everything you've been told about manifestation has been backwards? What if the very act of chasing your desires is the reason they remain just out of reach? In the realm of quantum manifestation, urgency doesn't just fail, it repels. Because quantum reality isn't linear. It doesn't respond to pressure or timelines. It responds to coherence. And coherence begins when your internal state reflects the reality you claim to want. Most people say they want abundance, yet they vibrate with the energy of lack. They visualize love while radiating loneliness. They affirm freedom while embodying fear. The contradiction is what the field responds to. Not the vision board, not the mantra, not the ritual. Here is the twist that almost no one talks about. Manifestation doesn't happen because you asked. It happens because you became. In quantum terms, the field, this infinite matrix of potential, isn't moved by effort. It responds to resonance. That means your job is not to push harder, not to hustle more, but to attune, to stop chasing and start becoming. This is where most seekers get stuck. They hear phrases like feel as if it's already done, or live in the vibration of having, but it feels fake, out of reach, like make-believe. That's because they haven't yet understood the paradox. The state of allowing is the state that attracts. The observer effect in quantum mechanics shows us that observation alters reality, but only when infused with expectancy, not desperation. When you look at reality through the lens of trust and knowing, the wave collapses into form. But when you observe through fear, doubt, or urgency, the wave remains uncollapsed. Possibility never becomes reality. Let's pause here. This isn't about blame. It's about awakening, about realizing how your energy is in constant conversation with the universe. Imagine a radio. If you're trying to tune into 98.7 FM, but your dial is stuck on 88.1, it doesn't matter how badly you want the music. You'll never hear it, unless you change your frequency. That's what quantum manifestation is. Not asking the universe to deliver something new, but tuning yourself to the frequency where that version of your life already exists. This is where modern science and ancient wisdom converge. Neville Goddard called it living from the end, stepping into the emotional signature of your desired outcome. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains it as heart-brain coherence, sending a unified signal into the field. Abraham Hicks calls it the vortex, that sweet spot where resistance melts and receiving begins. But here's the problem. Simplicity terrifies the ego. We've been taught that value comes from struggle, that transformation must be dramatic, that progress requires hustle. Yet in the quantum world, the opposite is true. The more you chase, the more you affirm the absence. The more you force, the more you amplify resistance. That's why this idea is so radical. Quantum manifestation is simple. That's why nobody gets it. Because simplicity doesn't sell. It doesn't sound dramatic. But simplicity is where the shift begins. So sit with this. The version of your life you dream of already exists. In quantum theory, all possible outcomes exist at once, in superposition. Your dream job, your soulmate, your financial freedom. They are not distant. They are present potentials waiting for you to align. And the way to collapse them into form is not through force, but through frequency. Pause the chase. Begin the becoming. Not tomorrow, not after the partner arrives, not when the money shows up, but right now. Because the field responds in real time. If your outer world is a reflection, the question becomes, what is it reflecting? Most people approach manifestation like a to-do list. Visualize daily. Write affirmations 10 times. Create a vision board. And while these practices can help, they're often surface level, like trying to polish a mirror instead of changing the face it reflects. The truth is, the field doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to who you are being. And being isn't performance. It's not pretending to feel abundant while panicking over rent. It's not saying you trust the universe while secretly doubting every step. Being is alignment. a vibrational congruence between your inner state and the reality you want to live. Joe Dispenza explains it this way: your thoughts are electric and your emotions are magnetic. Together they form an electromagnetic signature. That signature is constantly broadcasting into the quantum field, and the field reorganizes itself to match the frequency you send. Not what you want, but what you are. Suppose you want financial freedom. If you spend every day checking your bank account in fear, imagining worst-case scenarios, your electromagnetic signal is one of scarcity. And scarcity does not magnetize wealth. It magnetizes more scarcity. The field isn't punishing you. It's simply reflecting your broadcast. Here is the key. The most powerful way to change the signal isn't to chase a new future, but to embody it now. To practice the frequency of that reality until it feels natural. Not as a lie, but as a remembrance. Because somewhere in the multiverse, that version of you already exists. And when you emotionally align with that version, you begin to collapse it into form. Neuroscience backs this up. Mental rehearsal literally rewires the brain. When you imagine a future event and you summon the feeling of it, gratitude, joy, freedom, your brain creates neural circuits as if it were already happening. Repeat that often enough and your body begins to believe. And when the body believes, the field responds. Neville Goddard captured this decades ago when he said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." He didn't mean fake it. He meant fuse with it. Let the feeling of your desired life become more real than your current circumstances. Let your nervous system calibrate to it. Because manifestation is not asking the universe for a gift. It is meeting the version of yourself who already lives it, and bringing that version into the now. There's a shift that happens when you stop waiting for proof and start embodying the proof. When you stop looking for synchronicities and start living in sync. That's when reality bends. That's when time collapses. That's when opportunities seem to fall from the sky. Not because of luck, but because of coherence. Quantum physics teaches us that observation collapses potential into reality. But not all observation is equal. Observation charged with trust, gratitude, and expectancy has more collapsing power than observation tainted with doubt or urgency. So ask yourself, which version of reality are you consistently observing from? When people say act as if, it isn't about pretending. It's about stepping into the emotional posture of someone who already knows. Someone who isn't waiting for confirmation. Someone who lives as if it's already theirs. That's the essence of frequency mastery. And when you reach it, you don't just attract reality, you become gravity itself. Now that we understand the field doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are, the next question is, how do you collapse possibility into form? Physics reveals that every potential, every version of your life exists in superposition. Your job, your relationship, your breakthrough. They are all available now. But they don't materialize just because you think about them. They appear when your focused awareness causes the wave to collapse. And here's the secret. The field doesn't respond to half-hearted focus. It responds to emotionally charged attention, to belief, to embodiment, to frequency that feels stable. When you feel your future as if it's already here, you're not chasing it. You're stabilizing it. You're imprinting it into the unified field. And in that moment, the field begins to rearrange matter, time, and space around you. Joe Dispenza calls this coherence, a synchronization of brain and heart. When your thoughts want one thing but your emotions radiate another, the field gets mixed signals, and mixed signals yield scattered results. But when brain and heart unite, the broadcast becomes powerful, clear, magnetic. The signature of someone who already is what they once hoped to be. Let's bring it closer to biology. Every emotion creates a chemical. Gratitude floods your body with dopamine and oxytocin. Trust releases serotonin. These chemicals don't just make you feel good, they rewire your physiology. And your physiology becomes your point of attraction. Generate these emotions without needing external proof, and you reclaim your power. You stop reacting to life. You start informing it. And this is when reality begins to shift. Neville Goddard said, "Your assumptions harden into facts." What he meant is that your consistent emotional assumptions restructure reality. The outer becomes a mirror of the inner. And this isn't just philosophy. It's physics. The observer effect. Entanglement. Coherence. They all confirm the same truth. What you hold within becomes the world without. The challenge is consistency. Most people can touch the frequency in meditation. They can feel it for a moment. But then they slip back into worry, distraction, or old patterns. That is like planting a seed and digging it up every day to check if it's growing. Manifestation requires energetic consistency. Not perfection, just return. Return to the state again and again until it becomes your natural baseline. Walk as if. Breathe as if. Decide as if. Each choice compounds. Each act of coherence strengthens the signal. And here's the mystery. Once you stabilize the vibration, reality begins to respond with synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, sudden clarity, the right person showing up at the perfect time. And it won't feel like magic. It will feel like inevitability, a deep certainty, a quiet knowing. That's when you stop asking, "Where is it?" and start whispering, "It's already mine." That is the shift from wishing to authorship, from hoping to embodiment, from waiting to becoming. But now comes the deeper question. If the field mirrors your state, what happens when you stabilize a vibration so strong, so coherent, that reality itself bends not just once, but permanently? That's where we're going next.